Trick that makes people respect you in seconds. People respect you not because you demand it, but because you project it. The moment you walk into a room, your presence speaks louder than your words. Stand tall, shoulders relaxed, eyes steady. That calm confidence tells people you're in control. Respect begins before you even say a word. The real power lies in emotional control. When others lose their cool, stay composed. The one who stays calm always holds the upper hand. Speak with weight, not volume. Slow down, lower your tone, and let silence work for you. Every pause builds authority. Remember, boundaries are your silent armor. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow and what you don't. A firm "no" said calmly earns more respect than 100 explanations. And finally, observe before you engage. People who listen first and speak later command attention naturally because they understand the moment before acting. Respect isn't about dominance. It's about presence, composure, and quiet strength. Master these, and people will respect you in seconds. Presence over words command the room. Without speaking, respect doesn't begin with what you say. It begins with how you show up. Long before a single word leaves your lips, people are already forming opinions about you. The way you stand, the way you move, the energy you carry, all of it speaks volumes. Evy Poumpouras, former Secret Service agent and expert in human behavior, often says that presence is silent power. It's not about being loud, flashy, or trying to impress. It's about creating a quiet confidence that people can feel. When you walk into a room with intention, calm, grounded, and self-assured, others instinctively pay attention. You don't have to demand respect, because your presence commands it naturally. Presence begins with body language. Stand tall, shoulders relaxed but strong, feet firmly planted, and head lifted. This stance tells the world that you are centered and in control. People subconsciously read your posture to determine whether you are confident or insecure, assertive or uncertain. Even your facial expression matters. A neutral, composed face shows emotional discipline and confidence. You don't need to smile excessively to win people over. In fact, too much eagerness can project neediness. Instead, allow your expression to remain calm and observant. It signals that you are in control of yourself, and therefore someone others should take seriously. Eye contact is another silent weapon. Most people either avoid it out of insecurity or overdo it out of aggression. True presence means maintaining steady, relaxed eye contact that conveys confidence without intimidation. It says, "I see you, and I'm not afraid to be seen." When you look people in the eye, you acknowledge their humanity, and at the same time, you communicate your own strength. Evie often reminds us that real confidence doesn't need to dominate. It simply exists. People respect those who can stand their ground without trying to prove themselves. Your energy also speaks before your words. Every person carries a frequency, a vibe, that others pick up on instantly. If you walk into a space with nervous, scattered energy, people sense it. If you enter with calm authority, they sense that too. The trick is to control your internal state before you step into any room. Take a deep breath, lower your shoulders, and remind yourself that you belong where you are. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. When your internal state is grounded, your external presence becomes magnetic. Another subtle yet powerful element of presence is your pacing. People who rush through life often appear anxious, while those who move with purpose appear powerful. Walk with measured steps, take your time to sit or stand, and allow pauses in your speech. Silence can be one of your greatest allies. When you pause before responding, people lean in. When you allow silence to sit after you speak, your words carry weight. Evy Poumpouras emphasizes that presence isn't about filling space, it's about owning it. Finally, understand that presence isn't about ego or superiority. It's about self-respect. When you respect yourself, your time, your boundaries, your energy, the world mirrors that back to you. People treat you based on how you treat yourself. So when you carry yourself with dignity, when you walk with quiet assurance, and when you speak only when it adds value, others can't help but notice. You don't need to prove you're powerful. You simply need to be powerful in your energy, your stillness, and your self-control. Remember this: people forget words, but they never forget energy. The moment you enter a space, your presence becomes your message. Command the room not by talking louder, but by standing taller. Let your calmness be your authority, and your silence be your strength. That's the real secret Evy Poumpouras teaches. The trick that makes people respect you in seconds isn't in your speech, it's in your presence. Emotional control to power. True strength doesn't come from muscles, dominance, or loud words. It comes from the ability to remain calm when everything around you is chaos. Emotional control is the ultimate form of power. Evy Poumpouras, who spent years protecting world leaders and facing life-threatening situations, teaches that the person who stays calm in the storm always controls the outcome. When your emotions are under your command, you are untouchable. Most people lose respect not because they're weak, but because they let their emotions lead their actions. They react instead of responding. But those who can stand firm, breathe, and think clearly under pressure immediately gain authority in the eyes of others. When you control your emotions, you control your energy, and your energy is your influence. Think about the most respected people you know. They don't get easily triggered. They don't raise their voice, and they don't show desperation. They move with calm precision, no matter what's happening. That calmness is not passivity, it's strategy. Evy often says, the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. The calmest one is. When you react emotionally, you hand over your power. But when you respond with composure, people sense your discipline, your intelligence, and your strength. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering them so they serve you, not sabotage you. The secret lies in awareness. You cannot control what you don't notice. Emotional control starts with recognizing what triggers you. Maybe it's disrespect, criticism, or being misunderstood. Whatever it is, understand it, because once you can name it, you can manage it. In moments of tension, pause before reacting. Take a slow, deep breath and ground yourself in the present. Most people regret what they say in anger, but no one ever regrets staying calm. That small pause separates people who command respect from those who lose it. Evy Poumpouras learned this through years of dealing with dangerous individuals. Her calmness wasn't just confidence. It was survival. Another part of emotional control is mastering your tone and facial expressions. You can say the same words in a calm tone or an angry one, and the result will be completely different. When you lower your tone, slow down your pace, and speak with intention, you project authority. People respect calm voices because they suggest certainty. The more emotionally stable you appear, the more people trust you. That's why Evy teaches that power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how little your emotions betray you. Control your reactions, and people will automatically take you seriously. Emotional control also means not taking everything personally. The world is full of provocations, criticism, gossip, disrespect, or ignorance. But the moment you let someone's words define your emotions, you give them control over you. Imagine how powerful you'd be if you didn't react to every insult or opinion. That kind of self-mastery is rare, and that's exactly why it earns instant respect. When you can keep your peace in situations designed to break you, you become unforgettable. People may not understand how you stay so calm, but they'll always admire it. Finally, remember that emotional control is not coldness. It's maturity. It's knowing when to express emotion and when to withhold it. It's choosing peace over reaction, strategy over impulse, and wisdom over pride. It's what separates amateurs from professionals, talkers from leaders. The person who keeps their emotions steady, no matter the chaos around them, holds the real power in any interaction. Evy Poumpouras embodies this truth, that the mind governed by discipline commands respect far more than one ruled by emotion. So, when pressure hits, don't explode. Don't let anger, fear, or pride decide your response. Pause, breathe, and choose calm, because in that calm, you're not losing, you're winning. That's where real power lies. Emotional control doesn't silence your emotions, it channels them into strength. Master it, and people won't just respect you, they'll follow you. Speak with weight, not volume. Powerful people don't shout. They speak, and others listen. True influence isn't about how loud your voice is, but how much weight it carries. Evy Poumpouras, a master communicator and former Secret Service agent, teaches that presence and respect are not earned through volume, but through intention. Anyone can raise their voice, but not everyone can raise their value. When you speak with purpose, calmness, and confidence, you command attention without forcing it. The key is not to dominate conversations, but to make every word count. In a world full of noise, the person who speaks less, but says more always stands out. People remember words that come from control, not chaos. Speaking with weight starts before you even say a word. It begins in your mind. You must believe that what you have to say matters. Confidence doesn't come from talking more, it comes from being sure of what you stand for. When you speak, slow down. Don't rush your words out of nervousness or insecurity. Let your voice carry a rhythm that demands attention. A calm, steady tone says, "I know what I'm saying, and I don't need to convince you. You'll feel it." Evy often explains that silence between your words is just as powerful as the words themselves. Those pauses make people lean in, waiting for what's next. It's not the noise that moves people, it's the meaning. Your tone is your weapon. A soft, spoken person who speaks with clarity and conviction can silence a room faster than someone shouting for attention. People instinctively trust voices that sound calm and certain. That's because calmness signals control, and control signals strength. When you raise your voice, you often lose power because it shows you're reacting emotionally. But when you stay measured, composed, and deliberate, your words strike deeper. Evy Poumpouras says that when you speak with weight, people listen not because they have to, but because they want to. You create an invisible authority that can't be ignored. The secret to speaking with power is intention. Never speak to fill silence, speak to add value. Before you talk, ask yourself, is what I'm about to say necessary, helpful, or meaningful? If not, silence will serve you better. The most respected people in any room are those who listen more than they speak. They observe, process, and then deliver their thoughts with precision. Every sentence carries impact because it's not wasted. The fewer words you use to express truth, the more people will remember them. Evy calls this speaking from a position of purpose. And it's the difference between being heard and being respected. Another critical aspect of speaking with weight is body language. Your words lose their impact if your body contradicts them. Stand tall, make calm eye contact, and use subtle gestures that reinforce your message. When you pair controlled speech with composed posture, people instinctively perceive authority. You don't need to prove your power. It radiates from how you carry yourself. Remember, respect is often given to the person who appears least desperate for it. So, when you speak, do so as though you're completely at ease. People can feel when your confidence is genuine, and that authenticity commands immediate respect. Lastly, understand that your silence is sometimes your strongest statement. Knowing when not to speak is a sign of maturity and wisdom. Arguments, gossip, and emotional debates are traps that drain your energy and lower your credibility. When you stay quiet instead of defending every opinion, you show strength. People will always respect the person who doesn't need to explain themselves to be understood. Evy Poumpouras demonstrates this principle effortlessly. Her calm, confident delivery shows that real authority doesn't shout, it resonates. So, the next time you enter a conversation, remember it's not about talking louder, it's about talking smarter. Speak slowly, clearly, and with intention. Let silence punctuate your message. Stand firm in your truth and allow your calm tone to do the heavy lifting. Because when your words are grounded in confidence, they don't just reach ears, they reach minds. The world doesn't listen to volume, it listens to presence. Speak with weight, not noise. And people will not only hear you, they'll remember you. Boundaries build respect instantly. Respect doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from how much you protect. The truth is, people don't respect those who constantly say, yes. They respect those who know when to say, no. Evy Poumpouras teaches that boundaries are not walls to keep people out, but gates that protect your peace, your time, and your self-worth. When you have strong boundaries, you're not cold or unkind, you're simply aware of your value. You know what you stand for, and you refuse to let anyone cross that line. Boundaries are invisible lines of self-respect, and the moment you enforce them, people start treating you differently. Most people fear setting boundaries because they don't want to disappoint or upset others. But here's the paradox: the more you try to please everyone, the less respect you earn. When you bend over backward to be liked, you teach people that your comfort is negotiable. Evie often says that people don't give you respect. You train them to. Every time you let someone overstep without consequence, you reinforce their behavior. But when you calmly say, "No, that doesn't work for me," you send a powerful message: "I value myself enough to stand my ground." That calm firmness earns more respect than any act of people-pleasing ever could. Boundaries are not about control. They're about clarity. You can't expect others to treat you right if you don't define what right looks like. Be clear about your limits. Whether it's your time, your energy, or your emotional space, communicate your boundaries without guilt. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. The moment you stop over-explaining and start stating your needs confidently, people start seeing you as someone who knows their worth. Evy Poumpouras emphasizes that clarity commands respect. When people know where you stand, they're far less likely to test you. And remember, enforcing boundaries doesn't require aggression. You don't have to raise your voice or prove your point. Calm firmness is far more powerful. When someone pushes your limits, respond with composure. Say what you mean what you say, and don't be afraid of silence afterward. Silence is often your strongest boundary. It tells others you don't argue about your self-respect. The moment you stop explaining your worth, others start recognizing it. Respect is not requested, it's reflected. Boundaries also reveal who truly values you. When you start enforcing them, some people will resist. They'll call you distant, cold, or changed. But that's only because they were benefiting from your lack of limits. Don't mistake discomfort for disrespect. Growth requires losing people who profit from your silence. As Evy teaches, the people meant to stay in your life will never be threatened by your self-respect. They'll be drawn to it. Because strong people respect strength. It's also important to understand that boundaries apply to yourself too. Self-respect isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying no to the parts of you that settle for less. Set boundaries with your habits, your distractions, and your fears. Don't let guilt or insecurity make decisions for you. Hold yourself to the same standard you expect from others. The more consistent you are with your own limits, the more power you project outwardly. People can sense when someone has self-discipline, and that's the kind of energy that earns instant respect. In the end, boundaries are an act of love, not just for yourself, but for the quality of relationships you allow in your life. They filter out the chaos and invite in peace. They separate manipulation from mutual respect. They protect your time, your confidence, and your emotional balance. Evy Poumpouras lives by this truth. Kindness without boundaries turns into weakness, but kindness with boundaries turns into power. When you value yourself enough to draw the line, you no longer have to demand respect. It arrives naturally. So, don't be afraid to draw your lines clearly and hold them firmly. Respect follows those who respect themselves first. The next time you hesitate to say no, remember, boundaries don't push people away. They show the world how to treat you. Stand firm in your worth, stay calm in your delivery, and never apologize for protecting your peace. Because the moment you set boundaries, you stop chasing respect and start commanding it. Observe before you engage. Powerful people don't rush to speak. They watch, they listen, they study. The ability to observe before you engage is one of the most underrated but life-changing habits you can ever master. Evy Poumpouras, a former Secret Service agent trained to read people under extreme pressure, teaches that awareness is power. The person who observes first always has the upper hand. In any situation, a conversation, a negotiation, a conflict, those who pause to understand before reacting hold control. Why? Because they're not led by emotion or assumption, they're guided by insight. Observation gives you information, and information gives you influence. When you take a moment to study people's tone, energy, and behavior before you respond, you can navigate situations with clarity and authority. Most people lose respect because they talk too soon and too much. They rush to defend themselves, to prove a point, to be heard, and in doing so, they reveal more than they realize. But those who master silence, who use their eyes and mind before their mouth, earn quiet power. Evy often says, "You learn more by watching than by speaking." Every detail tells a story. how someone moves, how they breathe, how they react when challenged. These subtle cues reveal what words often hide. When you observe, you begin to see beyond the surface. You understand what drives people, what triggers them, and what they fear. That insight allows you to respond strategically, not impulsively. Observation is not just about others. It's about yourself too. The greatest communicators are self-aware. They know their emotional patterns, their triggers, and their tendencies. They notice when their heart rate rises, when frustration builds, when pride starts whispering. Defend yourself. Instead of reacting, they pause and analyze. That pause is everything. In that space between stimulus and response lies true control. Evy Poumpouras mastered this through years of training, because in her world, reacting too fast could mean failure or danger. For us, it may not be life or death, but the principle is the same. Emotional discipline begins with observation. When you walk into a room, make it a habit to observe energy before adding yours. Notice who's confident, who's nervous, who's dominating, and who's silent. Listen not just to words, but to tone and timing. People reveal their motives through the smallest details. The one who listens more sees more, and the one who sees more wins more. Observation gives you perspective. It helps you separate what's real from what's reactive. Instead of taking everything personally, you start to understand patterns of human behavior, and that makes you unshakable. Another benefit of observing before you engage is that it earns respect instantly. When you don't rush to respond, people see maturity. They feel your calm presence. Silence, when used intentionally, creates an aura of strength. It makes people curious and cautious. Evie often reminds us that quiet people aren't weak. They're calculating. They're studying the room, not competing for attention. When you finally do speak after observing, your words carry 10 times more power because they come from understanding, not emotion. You've read the moment, now you can lead it. But observation isn't passive, it's active awareness. It's about being fully present, watching without judging, listening without planning your next reply. It's about staying open, absorbing the truth of what's happening, and then deciding your next move with clarity. In a world where everyone's trying to talk over each other, being the one who truly listens makes you unforgettable. Observation gives you what others lack: patience, perspective, and precision. So, before you engage, stop, watch, listen. Don't let your ego push you into reacting too soon. The one who speaks first often loses power. The one who observes first often leads the conversation. Evy Poumpouras lives by this principle, the art of reading before reacting. It's what allowed her to face danger, command respect, and influence others without force. And the same skill applies to you. Whether you're in a meeting, a relationship, or a confrontation, observation is your silent armor. Remember this: reacting is emotional, but responding is intelligent. Observation gives you the space to choose your response, and that choice is where your strength lies. So master the art of watching before acting, listening before speaking, and understanding before deciding, because when you observe before you engage, you stop chasing control and start owning it.